We'll wait.
I want to.
Good evening. I'd like to call the regular city council meeting for Monday, August 4th, 2025 for the city of Rosemount. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
No, sir.
Seeing none, I'll move the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and second on the floor for the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda. First items up this evening, presentations, proclamations, and acknowledgements. The first item up, Overdose and Fentanyl Poisoning Awareness Month. Turn it over to Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Yes, as council is aware, on your agenda tonight is adoption for Overdose and Fentanyl Awareness Month with some specific days in the month of August as we can proclaim awareness for overdose and fentanyl poisoning. Council also is aware, and I got to hear from Miss Jackie Young last week, and Jackie and Jim and the family are in the audience tonight with their son Michael having passed away. Jackie serves on our opioid awareness committee that works towards distributing the settlement dollars that Dakota County got via its some of the settlements from some of the pharmaceuticals. And so a representative of Dakota County is here tonight as well. And Mayor, you can invite him to pop up and say a few words. And then the Young family and extended family are here to take a photo with the council after you read the proclamation. So there will be an event on Sunday, August 31st. I think, is it from 5 to 7, family? Yeah. 5 to 7 at the library Steeple Center grounds. The Steeple Center will be lit purple for that week leading up to Sunday, August 31st. Purple being the color to represent overdose awareness. And then the family will be having some comments and some speaking on Sunday the 31st with a candlelight vigil. I believe I've heard Chief Dahlstrom is going to say a couple of comments on some drug task force members and things of that nature. So with that, Mayor, if you'd like to invite up the representative JJ from Dakota County, that would be great.
JJ is where? There. Please step forward. State your name and address, just for the record.
Yep.
Name and address. And
James Johnson Jr., 1530 Bellows Street, West St. Paul, Minnesota.
welcome.
Thanks. Mr. Mayor, council members, residents of Rosemount, you are one of 10 cities that are doing proclamations either tonight or in the coming weeks, also recognizing overdose awareness and fentanyl poisoning month. We're having events all through the month. I provided you with a handout of some of the things that we're going to be doing. Simultaneously, right now, Hastings is doing the same thing. My name is James Johnson Jr. My friends call me JJ. I serve as your overdose prevention program coordinator for Dakota County Public Health. I'm also a person in long-term recovery for the last 36 years. This month, I stand in memory with the family of Michael James Young, who would have turned 34 years old on August 20th. He had his life not been tragically cut short by an accidental opioid overdose in 2021. We commend the city of Rosemont for this proclamation and for acknowledging the urgent need for awareness, education, action. Your police officers are saving lives in real time, administering naloxone and intervening in moments that matter. Tonight, we honor over 120 families, which includes the Young family. I have here Michael's father, James, his friend Buddy, and sister-in-law, Jill. Dakota County is committed to working alongside the elected leaders, law enforcement, and the community to end this crisis. Prevention works. Treatment works. Recovery is real. Throughout August and beyond, we're expanding our county-wide efforts to raise awareness about opioid misuse, especially fentanyl, educate the public on naloxone use, reduce stigma, and promote recovery, encourage safe medication practices, and proper disposal. In fact, we'll be hosting a How to Prepare for an Overdose using naloxone training at 6 p.m. Wednesday, September 17th at the Robert Trail Library. Only a united community-wide response can end overdose. The solutions are here. Let's use them. Thanks for attending to this matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll move forward with the proclamation.
Whereas communities across Minnesota and the nation continue to face a devastating opioid and fentanyl crisis that claims the lives of thousands each year, leaving behind grieving families and forever altered communities. And
whereas in the most recent reporting year of 2024, 994 Minnesotans lost their lives to drug overdoses, with 602 of those deaths involving fentanyl, a synthetic opioid that is up to 50 times stronger than heroin and often unknowingly ingested. And
whereas fentanyl poisoning is now the leading cause of death for Americans ages 18 to 45, surpassing motor vehicle accidents, suicide, and homicide. And
whereas overdoses can occur in people who have an addiction to substances, as well as those who do not, such as someone accidentally overdosing on prescription opioids after a surgery or an injury, an elderly person consuming too much of a prescribed pain reliever, or a teenager experimenting with drugs for the first time, or a child accidentally ingesting an opioid. Most fentanyl-related deaths are due to individuals unknowingly consuming fentanyl-laced substances, including counterfeit pills and other street drugs, underscoring the urgent need for public education and awareness. And
whereas families, friends, educators, first responders, public health professionals, and community advocates in Rosemount and across Minnesota are working tirelessly to prevent these tragedies, provide resources for recovery, and support those affected by substance use disorder and grief. And now, therefore, I, Jeffrey D. Weisensell, Mayor of the City of Rosemount, Minnesota, do hereby proclaim the month of August to recognize National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day on August 21st and International Overdose Awareness Day on August 31st in Rosemount, and encourage all residents, organizations, schools, and faith communities to come together in remembrance of those who have lost, to support those in recovery, and to commit to working towards a safer, more informed, and more compassionate community. Dated this 4th day of August, 2025. Signed, Mayor Jeffrey D. Weisensell. And with that, we'll go ahead and present the family up here, and the council will have a picture taken with you.
that open for me? There it goes. All right, here it goes. Android, my first time.
Just as a follow-up, we thank the Young family for coming in this evening and sharing their unfortunate loss, and appreciate them sharing that with us. And as community, for us to come together during this month and take advantage of the opportunities to learn. You may be surprised at how many people that you may know around you that have experienced this. It's unfortunate, it's something that we have to deal with in today's world. And so please take advantage of the resources that are out there, and certainly ask, if even if it is just to educate yourself on this certainly unfortunate poisoning from fentanyl. So with that, that'll complete item 3A. We'll go ahead and move on to our 2024 Management and Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. Ms. Malika.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. We are excited to be done with the 24 audit and bring that to you this evening. And I think our auditors are tired of us also. It's been a busy year. It's been a good year. Nothing negative for why it took a lot of time. It's just been a very busy year for the finance department. So each year, the city's financial records are audited by an independent public accounting firm. The goal of the independent audit is to provide reasonable assurance that the city's financial statements are free of material misstatement. This year, the financial statements were audited by L.B. Carlson, and Aaron Nielsen is here this evening. He's a principal with L.B. Carlson to provide you with our annual presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public, staff.
Welcome.
As Tia mentioned, we're pleased to be here this evening, kind of the culmination of the audit process. It's exciting to wrap up the overall process and complete the presentation this evening. So I'll start. We've got a PowerPoint presentation for you this evening. As mentioned, my name is Aaron Nielsen. I was the partner in charge of your audit for the year ended December 31st, 2024. You should have 3 reports before you this evening: the annual comprehensive financial report, the special purpose reports, and then our management report. So the PowerPoint I put together is simply grabbing some of the slides and data that we have in our management report to facilitate the presentation, and also to allow the camera to focus on the PowerPoint instead of me. Your city has completed the ACFR for 28 years, that annual comprehensive financial report, and submitted it to GFOA, or the Government Financial Officers Association, for an award for the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. This year's would be the 29th year, and we have prepared it in a manner to allow you to submit for that award again. It has been submitted for consideration of that award for the 29th year. So with that, I'll make my way through the slides that I have for you this evening. We'll start out right with kind of our portion of the program with the audit results. The financial statements that ACFR We've issued what is known as an unmodified or a clean opinion on the basic financial statements, so meaning they're fairly stated as of December 31st, 2024, and the results for the year then ended. I noted there, again, as Tia mentioned, you've had a busy year financially, but YASB also continues to stay busy adding new YASB requirements, so we had a couple of them that we had to specifically implement with group assets and capital asset accounting, and then changing compensated absences and how that's accounted for. With regard to the internal control and compliance over the financial audit, your audit was completed in accordance with government auditing standards, and we're pleased to report there were no material weaknesses in the internal controls identified to report to you this evening, nor did we have any instances of non-compliance to be reported with as part of our audit. And then the last component of the audit results is with regard to the Minnesota Legal Compliance Manual. So there's 7 broad categories in the Legal Compliance Manual, many individual requirements in each one of those categories, and we even have a component or section called miscellaneous. So if it doesn't fit in one of the 6, we can throw it into the miscellaneous, or the legislation in the state auditor's office incorporates that to be that catch-all. As I've noted here, based on our testing, we're pleased to report we did not have any compliance findings with those tests completed with this year's audit either. All right, the remainder of my slides here are really just sharing you some of the information I know you probably talked about as through the budget process, but good to affirm what hopefully you've been presented with in the past and consistent with that information. And good for the public to be able to see that we have completed our audit. So the first portion of my presentation is with regard to your governmental funds. So we're excluding the utility operations, really the focus of the general funds, special revenue, debt service, and capital project funds. As you can see overall, when you look at the governmental funds, and I'll talk about kind of the modified accrual and the full accrual. So the governmental funds are known as what's under a modified accrual basis of accounting. So the look and focus of them is to see what kind of current financial resources you have available to continue ongoing programs of the city. So while at first you get a little nervous when you see any decrease in equity, you see there was a $36.8 million decrease in overall fund balance of your governmental funds. It was totally I should say it was totally anticipated with the planned spending of the governmental or the bond proceeds issued in a prior year. So you had a couple major projects going on specifically with regard to the new public works facility, the Lifetime building that was being constructed, with the majority of the construction ongoing this year of 2024. So you can see that spending in restricted going down in the restricted component of equity or fund balance and within that capital project fund. I have a couple of slides where we talk about the general fund. So the primary operating fund for the city, your general fund operation. So this first slide, the trend of analysis for the general fund. What I noted here was you can see that at that point in time, we're measuring your financial position. You've had a stable financial position each one of these years and seen a slight increase each year as the size of your organization or the city has grown. With that increase in fund balance, you can see over the prior year increase in cash going alongside that change in revenue for 2024 compared to 2023. When we look at the revenue for the general fund for this past year, I'll make just a couple of comments, and if there's any questions at the end, I'd be happy to try to answer them. We've broken them down into 3 broad sources for you. Taxes, which you can see has the largest concentration, making up about 61% of your revenues this past year. Intergovernmental is the lowest of the 3 categories, coming in at about 6.1%. And then the all other category you can see is at about 32.7% this past year. As you can see, the last couple of years, that all other has really spiked up and really driven by the development activity within the city the past couple of years. I had to look back at the intergovernmental revenue. You can see there's a couple of spikes in the previous years, and what was going there is the couple of years where we recognized some COVID or pandemic related funds in 2020 and then in 2022, as you can see. The revenues for your general fund this past year amounted to almost 22 million or $21.9 million to get a gauge for the size of the organization. I like to say you came in favorably with revenues coming in better than anticipated in the budget or exceeding what was anticipated in that final budget for the current year. My next slide I have for the general fund is for your expenditures. Similar graph showing 5 years of history, breaking it down to the key components or functional areas where that spending is occurring. I think I had noted here you basically saw almost an increase in each category, similar to what you saw in revenues. That one real exception, you can see the other category, which is really debt service, saw a slight decrease. But there was a shift between the conservation and economic development category to better align with the Office of the State Auditor's reporting. So those expenditures were moved as part of public safety for some of the, the permits and inspections. So the inspection component of it, thank you. So you can see there was a shift there. This past year, expenditures amounted to about $18.7 million. Expenditures came in about 3.4% over what was anticipated in the budget, but that was more than offset by the favorable revenue variance that you had, and largely because of the development activity exceeding what was anticipated. So bottom line for the general fund this past year, so after an approved transfer by council for at year end, you again met your fund balance policy, which is from 45 to 55% of the subsequent year spending. Last year you were at 55%, and then even after that transfer this year, you're again at that 55%. So good to see that you're continuing to meet that policy, and as you can see, the result of that first general fund graph I presented, the stability there. I'll shift gears a little bit with the enterprise funds, as you can see here. We refer to them as enterprise funds. Oftentimes cities refer to them as their utility operations. Now these funds are presented on the full accrual basis of accounting, so a long-term perspective. So when they spend dollars on capital facilities or capital needs, they're capitalized and not reported as an expenditure, so you don't see that dramatic change. And I will show you at the end of my slide presentation the general fund and how that changes the capital fund where you have that spending. But with the enterprise operations, you can see here that similar split that we talked about with the governmental funds, the top half the equity components and the lower half by the utility operations that change in fund balance each year. So nice to see each one of your utility operations reporting an increase in their overall net position. As you can see by the top half of it, it really highlights the concentration that utility funds rely on the infrastructure related to those operations to be able to function from year to year. As you can see, you've reported a decrease of about $5.6 million in the enterprise fund investment category on capital assets. And a lot of that is due to some of the changes with the ongoing capital projects, some of the cash flow dollars, and I'll have a couple slides here that you see the components where the utility funds were issuing bond proceeds as well and contributing them to the governmental funds as part of the cost of the public works facility operation. The other driving factor to the decrease is the additional depreciation of 1 year on capital assets this past year that was reported. Everything else fell down to that unrestricted component, so you can see the overall increase does match about that $8.5 million increase split between the two components of net investment and unrestricted. I'm going to move pretty quickly through the next few slides. It's simply a graphical, and it does get hard to grab a lot of information out of it. It's important to see the cash balances, the net position, but you can see the overall tie to equity, and then that component that's made up of constructed in capital assets or net investment capital assets really kind of skews it, so you can't see any major changes ongoing here. So what I wanted to comment on here, and I'll show you on these first 3 slides for your utility funds, you can see from 22 to 23 and now to 24 a shift in the cash balance, and that's really driven by the bond proceeds that were issued during '23, increasing the capital assets, but having no impact on overall net position. When you spend your cash, you're trading it for capital assets, so there's no bottom line impact with full utility funds, or full accrual funds, I should say. So you see just that change in cash flow is not really a matter to be concerned with. It's just a timing of how you finance your capital projects this past year. A similar story you can see with the water fund, 22 to 23 to 24. And then to a lesser extent, the stormwater fund, because their contribution to the project and public works and the debt was much less than you see with the water and the sewer operations. The note I made with the streetlight fund as I'm presenting it here is really just to remember the scale of the operation. If we go back to like the sewer funds, we're talking in the $50 million range that we got to get to. When I get out to the streetlight fund, we're talking about $350,000. So some much smaller changes look more dramatic on the graph that you can see here. So the streetlight fund, again, you saw the increase in overall net position for them, seeing an increase in the operating revenue, net position, and cash this past year. Similar case with the arena fund, really their operations this year. There was a bigger loss last year than there was this year from operating results. The general fund has typically made a contribution by way of a transfer, and that therefore the improved operating results this year really fell to the bottom line with an increase in the cash fund balance with a minimal change in the operating revenue this past year, largely due to that savings and expenses. And then I saved the last slide to be the hardest so I can work my way up for it and wear everybody out when we talk about governmental accounting. So to this point, we've been talking about your funds as I believe our cities that we work with truly operate from a day-to-day basis. So governmental funds, your general fund, really focusing on what are the dollars we have available to provide the programs, police, public works, and the programs that you operate from a day-to-day basis. But it is a very short-term perspective. The capital project fund is a better example of that. You will issue dollars one year, then spend them the next year. There'll be very dramatic changes when you look on a modified accrual basis. But again, it's a short-term perspective. So the current reporting model allows this dual perspective where we show net position for governmental activities, which I would say is that governmental funds that we talked about in the first half of the presentation here. The business type activities are those full accrual funds, the utility funds we talked about. So I really don't have much to add for this bottom half other than explaining that your utility funds are the same as the business type activities, operating them as a business for the long haul. So you can see that decrease of 5.6 million, increase in unrestricted to 14 for that 8.5 is identical to what we talked about with the utility funds. When you look at the governmental activities, that long-term perspective compared to the short-term perspective, your city gives me that perfect example of how we saw a big decrease in the governmental funds story on that first slide with all the governmental funds where it was a $36 million decrease on a short-term perspective. However, when you use full accrual accounting and when that spending is used for capital expenditures, we capitalize them as assets of the city, and it does not become a current expense, and they're depreciated over their useful life. So you can see from a long-term perspective, the city has also seen an increase in your net position than when we look at the long-term picture of the results of this past year. So you can see a big investment in the city's infrastructure this past year. We've seen that with Rosemont. You've been really growing and a developing city. So some of that increase is directly from developers. As developments have been completed, the capital assets and streets become part of the city. That is a component of the net investment capital asset that you don't see in your fund-based financial statements. The restricted component, I had a note here I wanted to remember. That increase in the restricted is really from some state street aid that we recognize this year that wasn't utilized or needed at the moment. That increased that entity-wide position that will be used in future years. And then everything else really falls to that bottom line, that unrestricted component. So even though the general fund transferred out some dollars to other funds, they were unrestricted dollars. And so staying at 55%, you did transfer resources to other funds, primarily the capital project fund, and that helped boost up that unrestricted component in that position. So with that, I went through a lot of information. Your ACFR is well over 100 pages long, so I'm glad you get it electronically, so it's easier to carry around with you. But if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
One,
Yeah.
there's 2 and 3. So. One. The floor is open to council. Any questions or comments?
Nope.
So the only question I have is the award that you're submitting again, how many years have we won that award?
You have received it for the past 28, so 24, the 24 audit would be 29 if you're awarded it again, which I would anticipate, but we won't get ahead of ourselves, I guess.
Sure.
Wouldn't want to do that.
Sure. All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else? Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank your staff too. I should have ended with that, but as you can see, there was a lot of changes in the city with regard to a lot of construction, a lot of new GASB standards, and it doesn't seem to be getting any easier anytime soon, but getting through a couple of the big projects, some software changes the city made and had to make, hopefully we'll keep making progress. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to extend that to our staff, certainly led by Tia. It's a tremendous amount of work here. It translates to a lot of paperwork, but it does seem to dot the i's, cross the t's, and just a special thank you for all the time and effort. I know it's been long hours. I've seen the auditing staff here, the accounting staff, getting this all, because as you say, we're transitioning between systems. We're looking at multiple years and trying to complete the 2024, and we're well on our way to 2025, I guess. So, Tia, did you have anything else to add?
I do not have anything else to add. I'm just excited it's done. So I appreciate it. We're all excited. That's all.
All righty, and so with that, I'll make a motion to accept the annual comprehensive financial report. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Weisenseld, second by Tyson. Roll, please.
Essler.
Aye.
Semple.
Aye.
Weisenseld.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
Kresge.
Aye.
And the report is accepted. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 4, response to public comment. I'll turn this over to Mr. Martin.
Sure, just 2 quick follow-ups from last month. Certainly, we heard from Ms. Jackie Young, and so you saw our action about that here just a moment ago in that just very heartfelt moment, and that was great to see. And then council and staff did have a chance to discuss the other item on the development fees-related issue at our work session tonight, and so staff will be following up in the short term with the family related to that project. So those will be the 2 items of an update.
Thank you.
Yep.
Completes item 4, and we'll move on to item 5, public comment. Anyone wishing to come before council may do so at this time. Please state your name and address, and try to limit your comments or questions to 3 minutes or less. Floor is open.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and staff. My name is Brian Dawson. I live at 4479 Evermore Parkway here in Rosemont. My wife and I have been here for 9 years. We love the city, and we particularly love the neighborhood we're in. It just, with the green space and enjoy the quiet and the peace. I think where we're at, we're kind of the youngest in the neighborhood, so that helps as well. But everybody goes to bed usually around 8 o'clock around us. So. But I'm here today to talk about a concern and hopefully a request from the city. And that is regarding last week, Wednesday the 30th. I'm retired, so I was actually out doing what I do every day, is tending to flowers. Happened to cross paths with Paul literally on our trail behind us, and during that discussion, time to talk, we had a city tractor, John Deere, come through with a brush cutter. And it came down and it just took everything out on the trail behind our house. And right away. My neighbors to the west of me, they're in their 80s. They came to me because they always come to me for everything, and they were very concerned because they had flowers, wildflowers there. They had milkweed there. They enjoy looking out their windows, and it's all gone. And that trail, I don't think it's real known. It's Innisfree. I'm in the Innisfree Association. It's not well known, but 2 of our homes, actually, the trail intersects through our properties. So on the other side of the trail, where the cutting happened, that is actually our property. We do a little planting of native wildlife stuff there as well, just to try to wild plants and stuff, pollinators. But and I understand easements, and I understand that this has to be done. I'm not disputing that. But also understanding that I reached out to the Public Works to ask, why are you doing this now? And the response I got back is that we need to do this brush cutting to allow for better pedestrians, for for them to be able to see each other, basically, bicyclists, that type of thing, but also to allow for maintenance and emergency vehicles. Kind of makes sense, but also understand Innisfree Park, most of the trails there, as well as the trail behind us, okay, that's good this time of year, but they're shut down all winter. There's no maintenance on those trails, nothing, and there's nothing ever done. So when we're talking about that, we're talking about a very small window of time here that they're being maintained for those purposes, because we might see 10 people a week on those paths. The long and short of it is I looked a few things up, and I was very pleased to see that Rosemont is, was recognized by the National Wildlife Association as a pollinator sponsor. And I looked a few things up, and one of the things I found is that in Minnesota, the peak blooming season for wildflowers is June through August. Bees are the most active between July and August. Mid to late summer is a particularly important time for pollinators, including butterflies and hummingbirds. A honeybee needs to visit, this one's staggering, a honeybee needs to visit approximately 2 million flowers to make 1 pound of honey. And with the continued expansion and development of the city, which is exciting, it should be increasingly important, in my opinion anyway, to preserve as much of this as we can. And so back to our request, and this is a request. We aren't really arguing, and when I say we, I had a lot of people reach out to me through the Evermore Association. I'm actually on the board for the Evermore Master. And we had a lot of people reaching out in support of, hey, yeah, when you're talking to them, represent us. And the request is we aren't arguing that clearing a brush shouldn't be done. We think it has to be done. You have to maintain the trails. We aren't arguing that pedestrian safety isn't important. What we're requesting is the timing of this. Could it be changed? If peak pollination in Minnesota, which you can Google it, I love to Google, says that the most important times for pollinators is July and August, why are we doing this in July? Why don't we push it back to September? Why don't we push it late September? Why don't we push it back to October? I talked to Paul's, Gerton's, and Bachman's, and they all said the same thing. You shouldn't be cutting your pollinators down this time of year. And, when you do brush cutting, it's not discriminatory. It's not going to, it doesn't discriminate. It takes everything. And, to me, it's that simple. In fact, one of the arborists, I'm not sure if you're really familiar with, that takes care of our lawn service is Outdoor Images out of Egan. They say they don't even like to do trimming of trees and those type of things and bushes and stuff until after a frost, because it's very hard and stressful on the plants. So all I'm asking, and as far as representing the rest of us, is could we look at the timing of it and maybe change that? I think it's important for just helping, again, helping it for people that enjoy the flowers and people that enjoy and I guess one more thing on that is the cleanup. I know it's our neighbors over there that are in their 80s. It was just left. So now they have all of this. It looks like maybe a windstorm went through. The stuff was just left laying there. And, he's talking, he uses a walker and he goes out with a blower every day in his driveway. And he's talking about actually going out there and raking that stuff up. And I said, you can't do that. You've already fallen I don't know how many times. You can't do that. But instead of just leaving it then, could it be moved off the path a bit, or off the yard, back into the timber, or something like that, instead of just laying there. And so that's all I'm asking. I have a handout, because time is important, and this isn't as important as what I've been hearing. So I have a handout for each one of you that shows some pictures of what I was talking about, and, you know, a little bit of the facts that I brought up, so you know I didn't make them up and those kind of things. But it would be really appreciated. Rosemont, again, is a great city, and it's managed wonderfully. All of you have been so responsive, and it just seems like something that maybe isn't that unreasonable.
All right,
Thank you.
If you could leave that with the clerk,
I will.
she'll make sure that we get that. And then we'll refer that back to staff and have them take a look at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice meeting
Thank you,
you.
Brian.
Take care.
Is there anyone else wishing to come before council? Anyone else? With that, seeing no one, we'll close the public comment and complete item number 5. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We have this evening bill listings, minutes of our July 15th regular meeting, application for tobacco license for the new KWIK Trip, charitable gambling premises permit for the Rosemont Area Hockey Association at Carboni's, the school speed zones and, excuse me?
It's a correction. It's for CA Gear, True Players.
CH Gear, okay,
CA.
correction, I missed that, sorry.
Yep.
CA Gear.
Yep.
School speed zones and parking restrictions. This is at Bonaire, Perth, and Andro. This is for the new elementary school, Emerald Trail. MDOT co-op agreement at Emerald Hills Path. This is out by Safety Clean landfill area, creating a turn lane for safety out there. The medical leave of absence for requested through the fire department. Our Bloomfield Park basketball and tennis courts. This is a reconstruction bid for the fall of '25, and then accepting the Bray Hill utilities. This is the triangle at Akron and Bonaire development. To council, any items you wish to pull for further discussions?
On here.
Nope.
I would like to pull Eve, the school speed zones and parking restrictions at Bonaire Path and Ardmore. So with that, someone like to move the consent agenda items A through I with E removed for further comment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Essler, second by Tyson. Roll, please.
Klimple. Aye. Weisensel.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
Bresky.
Aye.
Essler.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. We'll pull up item E, the school zone and parking restrictions. Who's taking this?
I think, Mr. Mayor, our Deputy Public Works Director, our Charlie Fredericks, attended tonight, and so we might as well let Charlie pop up and explain
Yeah.
the research that Charlie did for us here in reaction to the school project. So Charlie, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'm just going to adjust this because it doesn't always pick me up. Yeah, again, I'm Charlie Fredericks, the new Deputy Public Works Director. I've been here for 2 months. So this item is in relation to the new elementary school. Basically, the state statute gives local jurisdictions authority to establish school zones and reduce school speed limits. So we went through the steps of that process, and that's the recommendation before you.
Could we pull up the item? There's a map in there. I think that'd help residents see where we're talking exactly and what items you'll be speaking to.
That would have taken me a lot longer to to say that. Holy cow. That was fast.
Thanks, Aaron. There.
So yeah, members of council, do you want me to kind of go through the executive summary for the public, or do you have specific questions on things?
Just general information for residents that likely are going to be there. I think there's been a strong interest in understanding how the city and the school district are working to create a safe access into the school there, particularly around Bon Air and Akron, being those highways that they are.
Sure. Yes, I know the city has been working with the school district as well as the county for a number of months, and very particularly in the last couple months working on establishing this. So basically, the recommendation is to reduce the school speed limit on Bon Air path from 50 miles an hour down to 30 miles an hour, kind of in that yellow shaded area. The black label there is the proposed crossing that's being installed as we speak. And then on Ardro, the existing speed limit is 30 miles an hour, and the recommendation is to drop that down to 20 miles an hour.
And that'll be the main entrance into the school right there?
Yeah, so the main entrance will be from Bon Air using Ardro. That's the only access point to the school. Yep.
Okay.
So this only deals with the speed zones around that area. Are there any additional things being discussed with the school district for safety and crossing of the roads, anything like that?
Yeah, Bon Air was a big discussion point, and the conclusion that the school district, in discussion with the city, came to was to install an enhanced crossing on Bon Air path where that black line is shown. So that will be a crosswalk with a pedestrian refuge island. So pedestrians are only crossing one lane of traffic at a time. It will have a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, or RFB, to further enhance compliance of vehicles. There'll be advanced warning signage, so it'll be very, very visible in that area.
Okay, and what's happening at Ardmore?
I'm sorry?
Ardmore? The black line that's there is similar?
On Ardro, it will be a standard crossing with advanced signing and pavement markings.
And I'm assuming just like they do at Shannon Park, the school itself has, like during, before school and after school, they have people with flags out there at that crosswalk. They'll be monitoring that, I'm assuming. I mean, the
believe so.
district, they've done that everywhere else, I'm
Yeah.
assuming, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that's good to know, thanks.
Any other questions or comments from council?
Nope.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
With that, I'll move the motion to adopt a resolution implementing school speed zones on Bon Air Path and Ardro Avenue and parking restrictions on Ardro Avenue. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Weisensell, second by Fresky. Roll, please.
Weisenthal.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
Fresky.
Aye.
Essler.
Aye.
Plimpel.
Aye.
That completes item 6E50 and completes all of the consent agenda. We'll move on to public hearings. First item up is the application for off-sale 3.2% malt liquor license for KWIK Trip. Ms. Vosbender.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. So before you tonight, you have an off-sale 3.2 malt liquor license request that has been made by KWIK Trip for their new location, which is located at 1030 Upper 144th Street West. Currently, KWIK Trip does hold a current license here in Rosemount and is currently in good standing. KWIK Trip will be subject to all the regulations set forth in the city code and Minnesota state statute. If approved this evening, the liquor license will expire in June 30th of 2026 to align with the other licensed establishments with the same particular license. Upon final review of this license request, staff and the police department found no reason to deny the license, and also upon approval by the city council, the license application will then be forwarded to the Minnesota Alcohol and Gambling Enforcement Division for final review and issuance of the off-sale license. So before you today, as required in our city code, this is a public hearing, so if there are no questions from the city council regarding this particular application, we'll ask that you open the public hearing and then based upon any comments received, to act on the motion as stated in the city council memo.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council?
Yeah, I'm just curious, in the city of Rosemont, outside of liquor stores, how many other establishments have this license?
None anymore. It's just
Just,
our,
so it's just KWIK Trip The two locations at Quick Trip?
Yeah,
That's
we
the only
use-
two locations?
Right, we used to have River Valley Golf Course was the other one. Otherwise, it's becoming very minimal that these licenses are being issued in the state of Minnesota.
Any idea on what's driving that?
State regulation is a lot of
Okay.
it. It's usually a little bit easier and a little bit more, I don't want to say easier, but it's just more openly to get the regular full on-sale liquor license, just because you have a more variety then, whereas 3-2, you're very limited in what you can sell.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Other questions? All right, seeing none, we will open up the floor for the public hearing. Again, anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so by coming to the podium, state your name and address and your comments. The floor is open. Anyone? Going once, twice. Seeing no one moving to the podium, I'll move to close the public hearing with no comments received. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is done. Back to the clerk. Anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, we'll move the, unless there's anything from council, someone would like to move the recommended action, please.
I'll move a motion to recommend the approval application of off-sale 3.2 malt liquor license for Quick Trip Incorporated, Store 1757, located at 1030 Upper 144th Street West, Rosemont.
Second.
I have a motion by Tyson, second by Essler. Roll, please.
Tyson?
Aye.
Grusky?
Aye.
Essler?
Aye.
Semple?
Aye.
Weisenthal?
Aye. And that completes item 7A, 5-0. We'll move on to 7B, request by Robert McNearney, Custom Homes, to vacate a drainage and utility easement located within the Autumn Terrace subdivision out along Autumn Path. Mr. Keenberger.
Great, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Before you this evening, the council is being asked to consider a request to vacate portions of an existing drainage and utility easement located between lots 8, 9, and 13 in the Autumn Terrace subdivision. So Autumn Terrace is located just south of Bon Air, west of Akron, along Autumn Path as shown on the graphic here. And then I have a couple of exhibits that show the request and the outlot, or the easement to be vacated, and then the proposed motion will be on the final slide. So this is a subdivision of low to medium density residential townhomes approved by the city back in September of 2022. It's currently mid-construction. Subdivision is 2.19 acres in size, has 12 twin home lots to be constructed once it's complete. And then back when it was originally platted, a drainage and utility easement was included on the recorded plat between these lots, so it's 8, 9, and then 13, because utility infrastructure was originally planned to be located within that area. So since then, the utility infrastructure had been rerouted to the east of the property, so the utility easement is no longer needed in this area. So like many of these that we do over the course of a development, this is a fairly standard practice. And the recommendation before council after conducting a public hearing is to adopt a resolution approving the vacation of an existing drainage and utility easement area between lots 8, 9, and 13 of Block 1 in Autumn Terrace. And then I can stand for any questions.
Floor is open to council. Any questions, comments?
Nope.
Seeing none, we will then proceed to the public hearing. Again, the floor is open to anyone wishing to speak on this matter. Please state your name and address and your comments. Floor is open. Anyone? Going once, twice, no mad dashers. All right, I'll move to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is closed with no comments. Move back to staff. Any other questions, comments? Someone like to move the recommended action?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution approving the vacation of an existing drainage and utility easement area located between lots 8, 9, and 13, Block 1, Autumn Terrace.
Second.
Got a motion by Essler, second by Klimpel. Roll, please.
Fresky.
Aye.
Essler.
Aye.
Klimpel.
Aye.
Weisenthal.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
And that completes that. Item 7B, 5-0. All right. This evening, we have no unfinished business. We'll move on to new business. The Aspen Fields Land Use Plan Amendment, rezoning and plat approval request.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This is, as you had described, a land use plan amendment, a rezoning and plat approval request for property that had most recently been owned by Dakota County Technical College, and prior to that was the old City Hall site. This is just east of Akron Avenue and County Road 42. So the requested change to the land use plan would be from the current designation of public institutional, which was reflective of its use by Dakota County Technical College, to community commercial and HDR high-density residential. So a combination of commercial and residential on that site. There's also a request before the council for a zoning map amendment. The proposed rezoning would be reflective of the proposed re-guiding in the comprehensive plan. So changing it from public institutional to B1 general business and R4 high-density residential. And then lastly would be a preliminary and final plat approval to create 4 new buildable lots. The applicant is proposing 3 commercial parcels and 1 residential parcel. The commercial parcels will contain a daycare center and then 2 strips retail facilities that would be built for rent to tenants. And then the residential parcel would be a apartment building in the northeast corner of the site. So you can see on the aerial map here before you, the location immediately west of the subject property is the Lifetime Fitness Center. And immediately east is land that is guided for high-density residential, and there was approvals granted for the construction of an apartment complex there for Devco development. They have not begun work yet on that site, so the aerial shown here is pretty consistent with what is happening out there currently. And just zooming in a little bit further to provide even greater detail, you can see that the existing property is made up of 2 parcels. There was a former residential parcel in the southwest corner of the site. That home has been removed from there. And then the old City Hall site that was most recently owned by Dakota County Technical College comprises the rest of the subject property. A slight portion in the upper northwest corner of the site does contain Aspen Avenue that would be dedicated formally on the plat. Currently it is just right-of-way easement. So here's an exhibit showing the proposed change to the city's comprehensive land use plan. The existing current designation of public institutional would be replaced by the community commercial and high-density residential designations there. And to provide a little bit of understanding in the context of the site, you can see that the 2 uses do create a somewhat of a transition area between the high-density residential to the east and the remaining community commercial to the west. There is some comp plan support for the proposed amendment. Chapter 3, land use supports commercial development, and also appropriate transitions between the different uses. The proposed apartment building would be a nice or an appropriate transition between lower density residential and the higher traffic commercial uses, as well as a buffer between County Road 42 and the residential uses to the north. Chapter 4 of the comp plan, which is the housing chapter, describes providing a mix of rental and home ownership opportunities. High-density housing should be located adjacent to collector and arterial streets, of which both County Road 42 and Connemara Trail are, and then should be located in conjunction with commercial development and transit availability. And to that last point, MVTA did just recently update its routes to include a stop at DCTC to serve that eastern portion of the city. There will be an underpass below County Road 42 that could provide pedestrian access over to that transit station, but it is a good extension from its current terminus at the Park and Ride located just outside of City Hall. And providing a little bit of understanding of staff support for the proposed comp plan amendment. I know there's a lot of feeling that there's been a lot of housing growth in the area. There's been a lot of apartments in the area and not enough commercial. While this proposed land use amendment does provide for some additional commercially guided or designated land, the additional residential units will greatly help provide or meet the metrics that developers use when deciding to site commercial projects in various communities. This exhibit before you here just shows the area that would be a assumed or estimated trade area for the area around Akron Avenue and County Road 42. But the area surrounded in red indicates areas that would not be developable for housing in the long term and in the medium term. Immediately northeast of the site is land that is owned by Flint Hills Resources to maintain a buffer area between its Pine Bend refinery and future or existing residential development. They've indicated that they have no interest in seeing more homes being built in that area right here. To the south, as I had said earlier, is Dakota County Technical College. This area is developing as residential, and then included in there is this land that's at the curve at 145th Street. That is the lease for the mining in that area will be ending in 2028, at which time staff anticipates the University of Minnesota will be opening that area up for requests for proposals to develop that portion. Therefore, it's been included in these residentially developable areas. And then further south is Dakota Aggregates mining operation, which will run through 2040. So the commercial uses that the city wants to see develop in this area really rely on a critical mass of residents to feed that. And without housing or people living in these areas here, it really does require a bit more density in those critical areas, reflected in the comp plan's comments related to combining commercial development with high-density residential development. It's just a little bit of a context of the decision-making and the discussion that took place during the Planning Commission meeting. As I said, there is a rezoning request to go along with this. The proposed rezoning of the site is reflective of the proposed land use designation. This would just bring it into conformance with the city's comprehensive plan. Currently, the public institutional zoning district is pretty restrictive on what can happen on that site. And as I said, there is a proposed plat with this as well. The 4 parcels being created would be the daycare and 2 commercial strip developments and 1 multifamily housing parcel. There is 1 outlet for stormwater infrastructure also included on the plat. So this is the proposed plat. The residential parcel would be here in the northeast. The daycare parcel would be to the west. And then there's 2 commercial parcels to the south and the stormwater pond in the southeast. The applicant did provide a rough site plan. This is just a concept. Any further approvals before construction occurs would be needed, such as site plan review, any sort of additional conditional use permits if it's a certain use that's being proposed. But I do want to call out 2 key constraints on this site, which are the existence of 2 city wells. Those come with 50-foot buffer areas in which nothing can occur and nothing can develop, which is why on the plat here you can see a carve-out, sort of a half moon, if you will, in this area, and then just a pretty significant easement area here to maintain that area as undeveloped around those wellheads. The proposed apartment, again, these are just concepts. Formal site plans with full civil sets would be provided, but as a general understanding of how traffic would circulate, there'd be an access point here from Connemara Trail, as well as a southern access point that would connect over to Aspen Avenue. So creating sort of circulation, connecting those uses, and then access into the daycare would come from Aspen Avenue further to the north. This little sliver cut off the edge here would be dedicated as right-of-way, so it does not just rely on a right-of-way easement. There is a gas line easement that runs through the site here, and the applicant is present who can speak to the conversations they've had with the owner of that pipeline. But it sounds like there are some verbal agreements that there could be some encroachments upon that area. There is no active line in there. It's been decommissioned, but the easement remains. Like I said, there are still additional approvals that'll be needed. Comprehensive land use plan amendments still go to the Met Council for their final approval and acceptance. There is a 60-day period in which the adjacent and affected communities are allowed an opportunity to provide comment on the proposed comp plan amendment. And then if there is a PUD related to this, that would have to be approved in conjunction with the site and building plan. At this time, staff has no information as to whether a PUD would be required or if the standards of the code for setbacks and things like that can be met. But this is not the end of the line for this project. So there are three actions before the council tonight. Motion to adopt a resolution to approve the amendment to the comp plan, motion to adopt an ordinance to rezone the subject property, and finally, motion to adopt a resolution approving the preliminary and final plats. Staff is happy to take any questions from the council. As I said, the applicant is present who can speak a little bit more to the actual development plans themselves.
Okay, the floor is open to council. Any questions for staff? I don't know.
Yep, so I've got a couple questions. So right now, the 4 parcels, it looks like the one is really the only kind of known commodity that's going to be a daycare. Do we know which daycare it will be? Do we know that yet, or is it?
I would defer to the applicant on the conversations they've had.
Okay.
Staff will be meeting with the future developer ahead of any submittals so that they can answer any questions, but I do not know the operator of that daycare.
And then maybe this is a question for the developer as well, but do we know what kind of housing? Is it going to be senior market rate, workforce housing? Do we know what?
I would defer to them as well for that one, yeah.
And then my other question is definitely for the developer. Yeah, sounds like my questions are for him.
Well, that's what I like to hear.
Just a quick question for you, Anthony.
Yes.
I know there was a public hearing at the Planning Commission and some residents did show up. So could you provide kind of a summary maybe of what types of concerns were shared in that capacity?
Sure. So there's, and these are common concerns we hear quite a bit. Traffic is a concern, noise, concern for kids, and safety, and things like that. These streets in this area have been designed for the amount of traffic that would be generated. There's definitely a different volume of traffic generated by commercial uses than residential uses. And then also a lack of interest in a daycare. But those are things that we can't really control. But it was a lot of the typical traffic and safety kind of questions.
All right. Thank you.
I did have one question for you. So the parcel to the east, immediate to the east that we approved some time ago. I don't recall the month or year.
Yeah.
I know that's for high residential as well. Can you remind me how many buildings are going to be built to the right of that?
That would be 2 buildings, and I believe it was 132 units total. Or
Okay.
100 I can't remember the exact number for that.
And market rate, what type of?
I think that one might have, do you recall?
Those were workforce
Workforce?
homes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it was 190, 180 units.
It was an even number because it was the same in each building. Maybe
Okay.
it was 182.
I can try to look it up quick, too.
That's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Do we know when they have plans to develop that?
To the east?
Yep.
I do not know what their exact timing is. I think the financial environment has been kind of tricky for developers, and I would not be able to answer that.
Yeah, they've essentially paused that for the foreseeable future until we've heard from them, so it's been a little while now.
But it's been rezoned, so it's.
It's ready when they are,
Yes.
essentially.
Okay. Thank you.
That site was guided and zoned in 2020 with the other
Yep.
Emerald Isle.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for staff? Otherwise, can we have the developer come forward? Councilmember Esther will hit you with all the questions he's got.
Yeah. Yeah, so my first question was, do you guys know which?
Just a minute.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, my name
Thank
is
you.
John Anderson. Address is 14832 Estate Avenue Southeast, Prior Lake. And do you want me to do a quick intro, or?
Yep, if you would, and welcome.
Okay.
And certainly
Yeah, I'll just do real quick. So I represent Aspen Field LLC. They own the majority of the property. There's also Monarch Properties LLC, who's the owner of the small former residential property in the southwest corner. That is a separate ownership, but we do have an agreement with them to kind of work through this, and we're kind of taking the lead, and I'm kind of managing the whole overall site. So there will be some cost sharing and things like that. That is why the commercial structure along County Road 42 is separate, 2 separate buildings, because they're separate ownership, plus there's a water main that runs between those that we cannot build over. It's a city, main that is going to stay in place. So, so that's kind of the background on that. The big thing from a timing standpoint is, we're looking for approval here tonight, and we'd be working with staff to get the development agreement as soon as possible. The daycare parcel, which is, I believe, Lot 4, we do have a signed purchase agreement with the end buyer. We cannot release the name, but we are, just in the last few weeks or a couple weeks here, starting to work internally on site design. So I would expect something in the next month or two to come back to you for a site and building design review, or at least start with the staff level on review at that point. And once we're ready with plans, then we'll kind of come forward and announce everything at this point. As far as the site itself goes, the apartment site, I guess, is what was referenced as. We originally were looking at that for approximately 150 market rate apartments, and this may be the same thing going on the property to the east with the economic environment right now with interest rates. That's been kind of, I don't want to say there's been interest, but everyone's kind of on hold just to kind of see where this whole thing goes. In the meantime, and this got brought up at the Planning Commission public hearing as well, looking at potentially senior housing. So we are actually in negotiating with 2 separate 55-plus developers right now to do like a 55-plus building on this site. The design itself is conceptual. It does fit on there to kind of get those units. As far as, the PUD that may need to be needed right now, our design would meet all the city zoning requirements, so we wouldn't need the PUD. That's not to say something may change going forward with the actual, real site design, but the concept plan does meet all the city zoning requirements. The gas easement as well is a dead line, I guess. It doesn't operate anymore, but the easement is in place. We have talked to the gas company about possibly, vacating that. The issue that comes up is if to vacate it, we'd have to actually remove that line, and it's extremely expensive to remove that line out of the ground. So an easier process is, and we've kind of got this in verbal wording right now, and we're working through an actual written agreement as we speak. We can actually encroach with a structure up to 10 feet of the existing gas line itself, which is roughly the center line of the easement. On one side of the easement, we can also put parking over the entire area. So that's why you see the building on the south side, it roughly comes up to within 10 feet of that actual gas line. So that's kind of what's in play. We got to finalize that with the actual written agreement, which is in process. And our big thing right now is the goal is to get the site moving, get it graded, get the demolition done this fall yet, and get the daycare site going. They are, like I said, hoping to get under construction yet, potentially even this year. So there are some steps we'd be working on, right away with that goal in mind. There's going to be a street coming off of Aspen Avenue that would actually service the 2 commercial structures and give some direct access into the south side of the residential site. We may look at putting the utilities in. The streets may not happen this year, but the daycare site is looking to get access on their own driveway to the north up there and have a design. This design actually is what they're trying to do, is this exact layout, so that's where that came from. So real quickly, that's where we're at. I kind of hopefully touched on the type of housing that we're talking about. The daycare, like I said, that'll probably be announced here in the near future, but we are not able to release that at this point yet, so.
Paul, do you have other questions?
Yeah, just a couple follow-ups on the, so the daycare, is that a known provider? They're reputable? I mean, I'm assuming they're a known daycare provider?
I guess Paul Whiteman, the owner, actually, just the project manager, he's been more negotiate with them. He says it's a known provider. I don't even know, to be honest, who it is myself.
Yep.
So,
and then on the easement, the pipeline easement, you've made the effort. Any issue at all about just vacating the easement now?
we could, but there's a cost factor with that, and it was in the hundreds of thousands to do that. So to do this with just a written agreement and design it this way, it could just stay as is and it wouldn't affect us. So it was a financial
So you're really
decision.
building around it then,
We're
basically?
building around it to the parameters they gave us, where we could put parking over the whole thing, the building on one side up to 10 feet.
And the access, again, no access off of 42, it's coming off of?
Aspen Avenue.
Aspen, right there to the east of it, on Aspen, okay.
Correct. Another thing we did look at in the overall design is, with the Aspen Avenue access, it does give direct access to the commercial lots. The other lot behind that is, it's a little less direct, so it wasn't as ideal for commercial with the people we've talked to. And also 42 and Akron is ultimately the major intersection at this corner, which is the prime real estate, like where Lifetime is, and those other commercial buildings that are going in. So we do have people we are negotiating with on the commercial properties right now as well. Nothing has been finalized, and they're looking at doing like a strip mall that would have multiple tenants on both of those structures. And I know Planning Commission, they're asking, well, what it would be. I mean, we don't have actual tenants, but it could be like, a sub shop or, a dentist or, just typical commercial type structures. That
Don't say dentist.
Don't say dentist.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it could be a lot of different things, so.
Or dentists.
Or dentist. Don't say dentist.
Sorry, excuse me, one more question. On the housing, so it sounds like it is gonna be some form of market rate. That's what you guys are looking at?
Yeah, but right now, the two main people we're negotiating with, because the market rate apartment customers we were talking to have kind of backed away. I mean, they're still interested, but they're more on hold.
Okay.
Just to kind of see where this interest rate thing's gonna go, whereas the 55-plus potential suitors are actually on board right now.
That's the
trying to
likely,
move
the
something
two
forward.
options, or market rate or?
That's kind of what we've looked at,
Yeah,
correct.
yep.
I mean, we've talked to a rental type of a facility as well, but, there's some other stuff that's going on the south side of 42, and they didn't want to really compete because with the saturation there on that side, so.
Yeah, well, and even the other one, right west of this
Correct.
location as well, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's what I got, thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Kiemberger. This is probably for you. I love the commercial. I don't love another high density. We've got a lot of apartments that are just opening. We have some that are in construction, and then we have green space to the right of you. However, I'd be really on board with 55 plus because I do think that is a need. So my question is there a way to position this or add a clause that it's high density, but it has to be 55 plus? I'm just asking.
Not to my knowledge. I mean, typically, if it's in conformance with the land use and then the subsequent zoning for that parcel, as long as it meets the density, the height, the material requirements, you wouldn't really be able to prescribe an end user or a business type within there.
Okay.
So that's my same question too, because we have a lot of apartments, and I know we need density, and I think Anthony did a great job of kind of laying out kind of the buildable areas that we have accessible on the east side. But I also know that there's a lot of people that are becoming empty nesters, and that 55 plus is definitely a demographic that we need here in Rosemont, as I'm about to become an empty nester. Not that I'm that old, but close. So that would be something we would be very strongly in favor for. So if we can't mandate or put a clause in, I guess my only ask of you would be that, that you try to seek out that scenario first, because that's definitely something that's a need here, and that that would make me feel better about saying yes to this.
I think he's saying lean into
Yeah.
55 plus.
senior.
Really,
And originally, when we first talked, it was the market rate apartment people that were really hot and heavy on this site. And as that kind of, time's gone on, we didn't know exactly how quick this was going to get through the approval process. They've kind of backed away, and we've seen that in the market in general. And then the owner, Paul, is also doing a development in Farmington right now called Vita Ativa. It's a 55-plus neighborhood. He's actually building that himself, but that's more individual, like detached, single family, and then some townhouse stuff with a clubhouse and pool and things like that. So he has a lot of background in that, and so that's where over the last, I'd say, month and a half, 2 months, we've gotten a lot more interest in the 55 plus, just due to kind of how the economic conditions are in general. So we are going that direction. I don't want to say it's 100% locked in stone, and I don't want to really just say, oh yeah, we're only going to do that and no market rate, because if something changed tomorrow, we kind of still need to have that option, I guess.
Can I just have you say 95%?
I can say that right now our two strongest and pretty much our only buyers at this time are both 55.
Okay, so that helps. But I also think that, one of the things I want to cover, because we had something similar come back when I first started on council, where it was a piece of land that was kind of this hodgepodge of, trying to conform a lot of different things. We have 2 wells on here, we have a pipeline going through. It seems like you're doing everything you can to make something out of this piece of land. And so so we appreciate you, developing this land as we're, developing further on in this area. We're just hoping for, that 55 plus is definitely a need. That's all I'll say.
And one of the other things is there's not as much urgency on the 2 commercial buildings and the 55 plus due to the timing. The daycare, we have more urgency because we have a buyer right now that wants to go as soon as they can. The other ones are already thinking it's going to be 2026, so it's a little less urgency to get things done and finalized with them. So.
Okay.
It's good to see growth.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No further
Alrighty.
questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. If any more
Thank you.
questions, let me know.
Thanks.
Any follow-up questions for staff? Seeing none, we would like to start the recommended actions.
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution approving an amendment to the city's comprehensive land use plan to change the designated land use on the site from PI, public institutional, to CC, community commercial, and HDR, high-density residential.
Second.
I have a motion by Essler, second by Tyson. Roll, please.
Essler.
Aye.
Semple.
Aye.
Weisenthal.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
Reski.
Nay.
That motion 1 carries 4-1. Second,
I'll make a motion to adopt an ordinance rezoning the subject property from PI Public Institution to B1 General Business and R4 High Density Residential, subject to the approval of an amendment to the city's land use plan.
Second.
motion by Tyson, second by Essler. Roll.
Klimple.
Aye.
Weisenthal.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
Reski.
Nay.
Essler.
Aye.
Motion 2 passes 4-0.
4-1.
4-1, I'm sorry. Sorry. Get so used to it. Motion number 3.
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution approving the Aspen Fields preliminary and final plats, subject to conditions.
Second.
I have a motion by Essler, second by Tyson. Roll, please.
Weisenthal.
Aye.
Tyson.
Aye.
Reski.
Nay.
Essler.
Aye.
Klimple.
Aye.
That one passes 4-1. That completes item number 9 under new business. Congratulations and good luck going forward.
Good luck, yeah.
Move on to announcements. Item 10, city staff updates. Mr. Martin.
Mayor, I think you've got the bulk of the date updates tonight, and you have the events coming up, so I'll just flip it right back to you, and you can talk about the fun coming up in Rosemont.
All right, we'll move on to 10B, We'll start out with, if residents happen to notice we were on Monday night, that's because tomorrow night is the Night to Unite, getting to know your neighbors, police and fire department personnel, city council members, city staff will be out with fun, for fun and connections. All registrations should be in, and we will get a list. And did we get a count as to how many maybe were out there?
We've got 6 groups. I think they're each going to 7 or so, 8, so we're back in that 50s, probably upper 40s to 50.
Going to how many?
That's a lot.
6, 7 per group, I think. You're making me feel wrong, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
a big list. We always try to go to 7, 6, 7.
A little bit more than last year,
Yeah,
but
okay, a
it's
little
trending
bit
right.
more. I think it's a couple
Fairly
more
low,
than
but yeah.
heard. But yeah, I've heard that we've gone to 30 some, and that 50 is the number, 40 or 50 is the number of places. All right, well, I can't wait to see that list tomorrow night if we're going to 7 or 8 places, so. Then coming up on August 19th, on Tuesday, 6 to 7 p.m. is the Port Authority, followed by the City Council meeting from 7 to 8. And that covers between now and the next, let me just double check something I thought I had. Yeah, it's only the next couple of weeks, so I did want to check to see a couple other things here. If not,
As you're doing that, I'll just say that
Yep.
it was great to see everybody at the Leprechaun Days celebration. Having the booth there, we got a lot of good ideas for the vacant Speedway land, and it was just great interacting with everybody at the booth, so great turnout.
any other comments on Leprechaun Days from anybody?
Just an appreciation once again, just for the committee, an appreciation for the entire committee. It's a ton of work. I know it's a lot of year-round work. Heidi, you're very involved in it. And I know it's a lot of year-round work and involvement. It's not just the 1 month leading up to the 9 days. It's year-round. So very much appreciate all the committee's work.
Yeah, it helps solidify that hometown feel every time.
Yeah, there are no other, we have actually kind of light between now and then. But I would like to offer my sincere appreciation. We had a local organization this past week, Beyond the Yellow Ribbon, provided a barbecue luncheon for our police, and certainly all the work that went into having a safe community event from Leprechaun Days. No major incidents, not even really minor incidences. They were able to keep the place moving along. Everybody that I talked with was very happy, pleased with who turned out, what turned out, activities. Parade was a little warm, but certainly good. And just a special thanks also to our residents for showing up and making it a good community festival as well. So with that, if there's no other business to come before the city council, I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.